I know they're writing them. Oh.
Everybody. The thoughts and views expressed on this podcast are not necessarily the views of DBN. And if you hear something that offends you, if you hear something that you do not like, we have no money, so you can't sue us. But if you would leave the number to your workplace in the comments, we will let them know that you've taken a vacation to your feelings. Yo, we want to welcome y'all to another conversation with the Logic-Based Collective, where we collectively challenge ourselves and one another to evolve mentally and spiritually. We are glad to have you along on this journey with us. I'm AJ, this is Terrell, this is KJ, and this is Gary, our guest for today, and we are the collective. And so today we're talking about kind of maybe a bit of a sensitive subject. I don't have any qualms, as he would say, about talking about pretty much anything, but something that's a little bit taboo for some people. We're talking about porn and the effects that it has or may have, and whether or not you feel that it's wrong to watch. So this is our guy Gary Shepard, who also has a podcast, and he can speak more to his podcast and what it is that it's about. Go ahead, Gary.
Okay. Thank you very much. Like AJ said, my name is Gary Shepard Jr. I'm the CEO for my podcast, which is Triple X Life No More. How Triple X Life No More came about was in 2017. I was facing divorce. It was the worst year of my life. I was losing my family, and it all started back when I was 8 years old. So, a flashback to 8 years old, me and my brothers we're playing, we're wrestling because we were big wrestling fans. That's back when Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior was wrestling.
Yeah.
So, that's back when the Wimps was getting beat up and everything.
Sometimes.
Yes. Yes. So, we're wrestling, me and the second oldest, and, my little brother, of course, we push him to the side because he was easy to deal with. But we wrestle all the way. We spill into my mother's room, first of all. And when we spill into her room, there's like stacks of Playboy magazines all over the bed. And so, as a kid, you're curious. I pick up the magazine and, I'm flipping through the pages and, I'm like, okay. Not realizing that my subconscious was being violated. Not realizing that, my look, that one look on these centerfolds, my innocence was stolen. And so from then on, I battled addiction for 28 years. 28 years.
Hold on, I'm going to stop you right there.
Mm-hmm.
So now, just for we're able to give everybody context about what the conversation is going to be. Before we go any further, though, because I did forget, but it's important to know how everybody is doing, so we can go around with it. Just make sure everybody's all right before we delve into the subject.
Yeah.
Right.
So go ahead, Kay. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Hustling, bustling, work, regular. Case of the Mondays type thing, but it's cool. Everything is good. Not too much to report this time. Your turn,
Terrell.
Oh yeah, I'm good, man. As far as the main three, as we break it down, the mind, body, and spirit. My mind is strong. I feel good physically. My spirit is being enriched and encouraged. So I'm in a good place, fellas.
How about you, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for this opportunity, man, to share my journey and my story of, being bound to being delivered. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you for coming, man.
Yeah, glad to have you.
And I'm doing well. Dealing with some more personal stuff, but I feel at peace,
Mm.
and you know what I'm saying. Like even in these situations, that's really all you can ask for because life is gonna throw whatever at you. You have no control over that, but you can have some type of resolve in terms of your mindset in the way that in the way that things are going to be. Um, so I know, some time ago, and like, just from going through things in the past, I might have been in a different place, but thankful to have that mindset now. So I'm
Right.
good. We good. Y'all good. So let's get into the convo. Gary, you said that in 2017 that you dealt with a porn addiction that
Mm,
you had been dealing with for 28 years.
28
What
years.
what does that look like for you? Like what is the what I'm saying, like addiction in um how would you say that you were addicted to that? Are you talking about, like you can't stop watching it? Are you talking about how many times a day or how many times a week that you watched it? Like what are we, you know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like
yeah.
just
Oh
to
yeah.
give context.
It was probably, I'm gonna tell you, every day of the week. It was really bad. It was to the point where I was
Mm.
emotionally absent when it came to my wife and her feelings and everything. Because what people don't realize is that when you consume porn for so long, you become almost like a zombie. So feelings don't matter to you. Like whether a person's sad or they're crying, you become so trained to the images that you watch on porn that is just nothing matters. Even if a person is crying in front of you, it means nothing.
So how do you like get to that point in turn, like
Mm.
emotionally, where like those things, like to where those things don't matter. And then how are you able to pick up on that in yourself? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what was the event that's like, well, now like I can see that I have a problem where I can see something that I need to work on, as opposed to it just happening and you not knowing.
Man. So with that, I think, like I said, what woke me up to that was when I was talking with my wife, and I finally seen that she had enough. When she said she had enough, like I really felt it, and for the first time in my life, that kind of woke me up. Like, wow, like I'm really losing myself.
Mhm.
And I would notice like some of the symptoms. Let me go to like the symptoms of a porn addicted person. So not only are we like well, not only was I emotionally available at the time, but I was easily angered. I get angry easy over little stuff. I couldn't even focus. I always had brain fog, and like little small common sense stuff I couldn't do because my mind was so messed up. You know, because each time, like the science behind it, they say it releases with porn, it releases a high dose of dopamine. And
Mhm.
so really, when it comes to that, it takes your brain about a couple months to almost a year to fully recover, research wise.
Right. I hear that.
And so when you think about it, like I would go to work and I would be so lazy, so tired, I couldn't focus or anything, you know? And it's when I think about it now, like I was when I look at old pictures and videos of myself, I looked bad.
Wow.
It was bad. Like I looked at terrible. Like there's a drug addict, you can tell because they look like a drug addict, but a porn addicted person, you wouldn't be able to tell because I work like everybody. I keep myself clean like everybody. but mentally, I'm struggling.
So I understand what you're saying in the way that I'm hearing it sounds like is similar to um drug addiction
Yes,
or substance abuse
it is. Yep.
of some kind. One thing that I can say, and it's having been a functioning drug addict is people can't always tell. So you know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, I understand where you coming from as far as that, like, but so what effects was it having on your relationship? When you say that your wife had enough, what are we, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do we mean? Because I feel like every relationship, like you have your things that you need to work on, right?
Right.
Right.
And so, you know what I mean? Like, so how are you able to differentiate between the problems that you're having and the problems that you're having because of your addiction?
That's a good
Well,
question.
yeah, that is a good question. So, what I mean by my wife had enough is I neglected her emotions for 11 years.
Mm.
And so,
I don't know it.
she would, yeah, 11 years of our marriage.
Hmm.
This year, God's willing, is going to be 17. And some of the things like she would want to go out, to eat, and I would just want to stay in the house. She would want to spend time, and I wouldn't want to be bothered because I just got through viewing porn, so I was just lazy and didn't want to be bothered. I was easily, you know, aggravated with her. Because of the guilt and the shame was like speaking out
Mm.
because I was trying to hide it, and not only trying to hide it, but being a man of God, a leader in the church. So all those things was, on my mind, just wearing me down, and then not only that, the voices in my head, like, man, you've been doing this for so long, man. People not gonna listen to you, man. You might as well not say nothing because if you say something, people gonna leave you. They're not gonna listen to you, man, at all. You might as well just keep on doing it and just keep your mouth shut, you know?
Question. Did
Yeah.
you so did you find yourself having difficulty? I guess is like because when I hear she said she had enough,
Mhm.
like was there like not necessarily like you paying attention or being attentive to her, but like was there like actually like a lack in the sexual department because you were like more or less depleting yourself with the overconsumption of the pornography?
Yes, that as well. It
Okay.
was it was lacking very much. Passion was lacking. When you consume porn and you release, I'm gonna just keep it
Yeah, yeah.
clean. When you release it, what it causes is it causes a delay ejaculation. So basically, what happens is when you actually have sex, it takes a long time to climax
Right, right, right.
because you have already released. And so, like I said, it was a lack of passion in that department because, like, I was emotionally dead.
So when you say there's
No, no.
so when you say emotionally dead, like I was like all I can think of is like I guess like maybe it being somewhat routine
Yes,
because
exactly.
because
Yep.
you had seen like I hate to say it, but you see the process. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like some dude walks in,
Hmm.
he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna deliver pizza." It's like, "Oh, I don't have any money. Hey, this is how you can pay for it.
Yeah,
Delivery
yeah,
fee
yeah.
cute." Like you know what I mean?
Pretty
Like
much.
very
Yeah.
like you know what I mean. So it's
Exactly.
like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like for lack of better words, very
Hmm.
wham bam, thank you, ma'am. So when
Yes.
you say the passion is lacking, does it start to become like a life imitating art type thing, where you're like, oh, you're not expecting to have to do the things that someone that's not consuming that level of content would be hypnotized by it,
Right.
and you just kind of like start being like, okay, like push play in my life, like have sex now, like you know what I mean, as
Yeah.
opposed to like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay,
Like I said, porn it turns you into a zombie to where it makes you selfish. It makes you just focus only on you, and everybody else doesn't matter
got you.
unless they have similarities to what you consume.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that articulates the zombified state for me and
Yes.
probably for a
Yeah.
viewer more.
Hmm.
Like to I guess to look at it almost like, yo, you have so much control over it.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like I hate to say it, but it's a link. Like you're there.
Yeah.
You push play, you stop it when you're done.
Right.
Like you know what I mean? Like you're not cognizant of interacting on this physical journey with another person, have to
Yes.
worry about their needs. So
Exactly.
over
You.
time, that would make you unaware of others.
That's true because it programs. That's what people don't understand. When you consume porn, it programs your mind. It rearranges your way of thinking. You know, it dulls areas in your brain that's important. You know, like the part where you make decisions, the part where the emotions take place. All that is just being rewired and
Mm.
conditioned to pixels.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, did you say that? So what's the I want to talk about what is the difference between um watching and being addicted?
That
Like,
was
you know what
my
I'm saying?
question.
Because I feel like at we're like this is like four grown men, and
Right.
so we know that that we've seen it. You know what I'm saying? Like we've all watched that at some point or
Yeah, I
another.
just gave you the
Yeah, you know what I'm
cliff
saying?
notes to the scene.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I mean, and it's not. I mean, it's not like I like to just kind of speak to things as real as they are. So you know what I mean? Like I don't. So it's like, for example, right?
Mhm.
I know people been who have been on crack and have gotten off. And so, you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like crack is something that I would be addicted to because I mean, I wouldn't try it to,
Right.
to know whether or not, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm like, it's not is not really like appealing enough for me to feel like I
I was about
want
to
to
say
do
I
that.
don't think this wouldn't be an equivalent to crack.
Well, no,
Like this
I'm
would
not.
be.
Well, I
You know
definitely
what?
don't want
It's
to compare
it's an
pornography
equivalent
to.
to alcohol
Okay. Okay, right.
because
So yeah, there you
alcohol
go.
is something on the customer facing side or on the surface you would think you could dabble in.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it
yeah,
seems
yeah.
like that would be the type of thing that would creep up on you, as opposed to crack. Like you like, I'm cool.
I hear I hear what you're saying, but when we're talking about addiction, though, addiction is something that evolves, and that was
Yeah.
the question that I wanted to get to.
Yeah. Oh no,
Like
for sure.
I've heard a little bit about the end result of how things have kind of ended up for you and the struggles that you've had.
Right.
But I want to touch base a little bit more on the origin story, right? Like you started talking about when you were wrestling with your brothers.
At
So
8 years
like
old. Yep.
how does that addiction kind of grow from that space where you see content in say a book form, right? And you don't have access to it because you're not an adult. So how do you consume content at that age? At what rate? And how much did that content sort of drive your thought process? And what did that look like over different decades? Like when I'm 15, how did that affect me? When I'm 25, how did that affect me? You were able to get into a relationship and maintain a relationship long enough for someone to say she wanted to be yours, right? So how was that effect of your relationship based on the years when she was like, yo, I've had enough?
Right.
And I know that's kind of heavy and it's a lot,
And that's okay.
but
It's okay.
I think
It
that's
needs to be had.
important in the process, right? To understand like true addiction, because the first person who starts using doesn't expect to rob their parents in order to get that need as far as
That's
like
what I was
drugs
saying
or
as
crack
far
or
as
things
like
of
it
that
being the
nature.
sneak up on
So
you type thing.
I don't want to just completely skip over the development of
Okay.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I
no
want to
doubt.
really break it down so people understand, and so I understand better myself.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, my first encounter was with Playboy centerfold. Um, at when I became like 13 on up, I became sexually active. So I was actually having sexual encounters.
Mhm.
So it went from porn addiction to sex addiction.
Okay.
So I didn't really consume porn after that because I was actually having sex left and right.
Okay.
So yeah, it turned me to
Savage. I got
yeah, yeah.
you.
So
Do you feel
oh
like
yeah,
the early access
Yeah.
to the content kind of drove your thinking about wanting to connect with another person in that way?
yes, because like I said, like it when I looked at it at age 8, what it did is that registered in my subconscious.
Mm.
So anything that goes into your subconscious, it comes out. It's almost like a database. it's a database. So as I got older, it's like, and this is what people don't understand. And when it comes to porn, it's like it's a spiritual, physical, and a mental battle that you're going through. So you have all three of those different things coming at you all at once, and that's what makes it so hard. So going back to
Mhm.
when I was in my 20s, I had my own place, me and my two best friends. So of course, we living like bachelors.
Naturally.
So it was, like I said, left and right until I moved to my mom's house I had to move back out. I moved out first of all because our apartment kept getting broken into. So, I had enough. And then, my best friend, he moved out, and it was just me and his brother, paying rent.
Right.
So when I moved back to my mom's house, I couldn't do the things I did when I lived on my own,
Okay.
So it kind of lay dormant for a little bit until, I met my wife. And first of all, I had a crush on my wife for like 3 years, never told her. And it's funny, the funny story, because my phone will always call her phone. And my wife was the type, she's a straight shooter. She'd be like, I don't know who keep calling my phone, but could you stop calling me? And I'd be like, no, I'm sorry. My phone just keeps calling you. I'm sorry about that, you know? And my wife, she used to always sit like on the fourth row because we went to the same church. And I used to love how she praised God. Everybody has their different type of praise, but there's something about hers that was attractive, and she stopped going to church. And I would pray to God. I was like, God, I haven't seen her in a while. Like, but God, if you bring her back, I'll make that move. And he did. He brought her back, and we were. She was dating somebody at the time, and I was dating somebody at the time. But the person I was dating was,
Oh, you guys are terrible.
yeah, going back and forth. She really wasn't walking with me. You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot of
Right.
back and forth. And then when she rededicated her life back to God, the guy got mad about it. And so, after a while, I let her know how I feel, and we started dating. And then 2005, I proposed to her on Christmas Day. And 2006, we got married. And then porn resurfaced in my life, like in my third year of marriage.
Mm.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Don't forget what you was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now, because we're going through the timeline, so you guys got married, and then you said, like, so over that time, that's when it kind of like, like the addiction kind of resurfaced
It did.
and stuff like that. Now, did that have to do with because, you know what I mean? Like, were you, because you said like you met her in church.
Mhm.
So, um, were you like during that time, like it didn't like while you were by yourself, it never came back up. It was just until like it wasn't until you got into the relationship, like a little ways down that it kind of came back. Because I was gonna ask, like, is it because like when you're, you know what I mean, like because when you get married and you kind of like going about your business, you know what I mean, like you may not be as sexually active as the both of y'all want, especially when you have kids, because you're kind of on a schedule.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, so
yeah,
just
that's true.
regular,
Mhm.
adult stuff.
Life is more busy than
It's-
getting busy.
Yeah. And so, you know what I mean? Like, I could see, and so in my mind, I'm like, yo, well, maybe like circumstances, if not that, maybe like work or whatever,
Right.
whatever the situation was,
Right.
that sort of made it was like, yo, well, because in the minds of some of us, and I'm saying us, because in some cases you know what I mean? Like I could sort of get with the notion that you're by yourself, but you're being faithful. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so, you know what I mean? Like this would
nuance.
be,
Here we go.
right. I'm saying it would be better than the alternative. I'm just saying it would be better than the alternative. Now, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that it's the right or the wrong thing to do.
Right.
I'm asking you what, you know what I'm saying? Like, what was the thing that sort of made it, you know what I'm saying? Like made it just like come back to the surface.
So basically, like when I was dating my wife, I kind of went cold turkey from, sex. So I was sober for about maybe 2 years or so. And then, as I said, going back to us being married in I believe my second or third year of marriage, I was sitting in the house by myself, and like I had this strong urge, and what led to it was there were DVDs of porn in my house, and so it was almost like like Batman and the bat signal. Whenever the bat signal was up, Batman has to go to it and talk to Commissioner
Mhm.
Gordon.
Yeah.
Like I was searching for it, and that's why I said that this goes back to it being a spiritual battle as well, because there's a demonic side to porn that a lot of people don't realize. Um, yeah.
Was there any I want to say this tactfully, a lack of compatibility as far as your desires?
Mhm.
Like, if you were able to be sober for 2 years,
Mhm.
maybe you were, invested in that relationship to that degree. But when you find yourself alone, was there something that you were craving that you weren't actually, being able to experience with your wife that kind of led to that drive? And I don't know if I'm not being clear.
It's
And I mean,
okay.
everybody likes something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And if, being in the church, there might not have been things that you wanted to talk to or express to your wife about your desires
Right.
and what you wanted from her in a physical nature versus being able to buy a DVD that's all about exactly what I like.
Right.
Did that drive it at all, or?
No, it was just like I said. I was just sitting there, and then I had it happened to the urge came, and it was so crazy because I remember it was like I was sitting in the living room, and it was almost like it was just pulling me to the area. Like I didn't even know that these DVDs was in my house.
Oh wow.
That's why I
That's crazy.
said that's why I said the demonic aspect comes in, because like I was being pulled to it and I didn't realize where it was at. But then when I happened to go down and find them, I was like, it was like going back to being 8 years old, and
The
the stuff that
discovery
was in
event.
my subconscious reconnected and then like just took over me.
Oh wow.
So the content wasn't yours initially.
No.
Interesting. So do you feel like maybe the shame from being an 8-year-old and having that initial feeling of finding the content prevented you from being honest with your wife? Because if you have something going on and she doesn't know anything about it, and then you discover that she has something in the house as far as content that you like, there wasn't a drive to have a conversation about like, I'm into this and I found yours. So is this something that we could share? Right. Because there's an
Right.
opportunity to build in a different way instead of, separating yourself and isolating yourself because of whatever feeling you might have been having to say, listen, this isn't my content. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm bringing up old feelings because this is how I initially developed this desire from finding content. And this is obviously yours. I didn't know where it was. I had no access to it. And I certainly didn't bring it into the home. That could have been something that you shared together
Right.
versus, something that keeps you isolated.
That brings up an interesting. Okay, so can I hold on? Can I ask you this?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we have you. And this is one of the reasons I want to have this conversation because you know what I mean. Like I really because I myself am very curious about stuff in terms of thinking things that you don't say out loud. But you know what I'm saying. But okay, so you guys are married. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you think that there's an issue with y'all watching porn together? There's a layered question now.
Mhm.
Do you think that there's a issue with y'all watching porn together? And if you would say that there, if you want to say that yes, there's like there's an issue because of this and that, and I would suspect maybe in some way you might because you haven't delved too deep into the spiritual aspect yet, but even so, if you would say that, what if you made porn of yourself? This is a real question. And your wife, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I guess it would kind of seem kind of narcissistic to watch yourselves as you're doing whatever you're into.
Yeah.
But if you know what I'm saying, like, but if you made your own, is that, you know what I mean? Do you consider that a bad thing? And I'm not saying because I'm not saying that you should feed that desire, but if you're into that, I would think that you would be able to do the things that you're into with your wife up to, you know what I'm saying? Like I mean, up into
what are the religious
reasonably
rules? That's the question. What are the religious rules?
Like I mean, no, I'm saying I mean, but what are in terms of the addiction? Because I can't be like, well, yeah, I'm not gonna, since you don't want to bring to alcohol and say like, all right, well, you know what I mean, like I'm not gonna have, like I'm gonna have one beer. I ain't gonna have no Jack. I'm not gonna have, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna have nothing. And that like that's
no, see,
so
that's where I go to the whole like, is the sin the pornography or is the sin the gluttony? Because is it the large amount of consumption?
Yeah, because
that's why I said like,
well, what makes porn is a sin is because when you're looking at it, you're lusting.
Okay, so
you're putting yourself in the place of that person that's actually performing. So that's what makes it a sin, because what people don't realize, I'm gonna just break it down right quick. Porn is fake in a sense where what they do is they take a clip of the two performers doing what they do, but they stretch it to make it seem like that person is going for a long time. When in actuality, it was probably over like 5-10 minutes ago. And so that's where they get you at. They get you with those certain shots that they know that's going to keep you coming back for more.
I want to keep saying pause.
I don't think you know how many pauses
I wasn't gonna say
I'm trying so
but
so hard.
So I mean, so in terms of like what you're doing, if you're, you know what I mean, like, but if you don't really have that, if it's of y'all, you know what I'm saying, like, so I'm just asking, would that be a happy medium? That's interesting. I mean,
there's no happy mediums in the Bible.
Not when it comes to that, no, not at all.
I was going to say, I think your answer is no.
The thing about it,
I mean, I'm accepting of the answers, but I mean, there are people out there who want to know.
Oh yeah, of course.
Nah, trust me, because I was on the side of the gluttony thing. Like I was like, oh, if you're like moderation, like I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Because it's like, the whole like, okay. Terrible sidebar, but like the way the Bible is, just as a critical thinker, there are some things that kind of like make you be like, okay, so I can do this, but I can't overly do it. Like, I'm just saying, because like, you know what I mean? Like, it'll be like, it'll be like, oh no, you're not supposed to drink. And then somebody be like, oh, you turn water into wine, so if you don't overdo it, like it'll just like go into a thing like that. But I'm like, because I was gonna do the whole, like I said, I was gonna ask you about the gluttony thing, and then I was gonna say, well, I can see how you would say no for you, because if I was like a recovering alcoholic, I wouldn't go to the bar.
Yeah,
that's true.
But then when you said like the lust thing, I'm like, oh, the answer is no.
Yeah,
according to that. Like,
and the thing about it was, when you're addicted to porn, like you're dealing with guilt and shame, so you don't want nobody to know that you're addicted, not even those that are close to you. The thought of me watching it with my wife, like, oh, are you kidding me? No, I wouldn't dare ask my wife. And it goes back to just being shame and knowing that is wrong, still going back to it, because it becomes a part of your life when you spend time with it. It becomes
No. I'm listening. I'm listening to you, but the thing that came to my mind was like, but what you're saying is absolutely correct. The thing that I'm thinking about though is, I don't now, you know what I mean? Like our listeners don't know. I don't want to do any sidebars that y'all don't know about yet, because I haven't seen all our episodes. So I'm gonna, just to make it really, really plain. Former whore. So
Scouts on her hand though.
Like And so like I was, and so yo, I was married really young. One of the reasons, and this is just yet another reason why I shouldn't have gotten married at the time, because now I can look at it with my 40-year-old wisdom and say, well, I don't want to be married with somebody that I cannot share every part of my life with. If I have to keep secrets from you, we're not getting married. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so
Gotcha.
I'm not going into that partnership with anybody not knowing all the good and all the bad, because I want for you to be able to make an informed decision, because we're not going to get up the road where you can take half my stuff because you can say like, I didn't know this and I didn't know that. No, I want you, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to know the middle of the pie and the crust. So you know what I mean? Like, and so now, I'm looking at it just saying like, yo, well, if, I know where the guilt and the shame comes in, because I was, because I was there. I can't, you know what I mean? And so there was a time when I wouldn't have been able to be like, yes, like I just, like, I desire you, but I also do desire everybody else. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can live with that, or we can, figure out how we're going to maneuver, or you can be out. You know what I mean? Like, but I feel like now, like that would have to be a part of the conversation. And I'm saying that for me now, but there are some people who are younger or have never been married who, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the type of partnership that they're going to go into, and they're going into it with this thing, whatever it is, because I want to, you know what I mean? Like, yo, like, honestly, there may be some people listening, or people that's not listening, to be like, well, guess what? Like, I watch it. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it's an excess, but when I do, I want you to watch it with me. And if you can't, that's a deal breaker. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so you know what I mean? Like, so, would you say that, I mean, like, would you say that now you have, like, like you're able to be like way more honest with your wife, obviously, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you able to share even those parts with her when you're having maybe like a hard time? People in A, like, they have their sponsors. You're having a hard time, you got to call somebody. Like, are you able to talk, to have that conversation with your wife, and I mean, like, without judgment or like an eye roll? And I'm not trying to get, in business, but
Go ahead.
I really want to know. So,
now I can. Now, that I've been free for 6 years from porn, I can, I can definitely talk about it,
that's dope.
and talk about where I went wrong. I can't take back the 11 years I've neglected her emotionally. But what I can do is, be the better man, be the husband that I should have been 11 years ago, which I'm now more conscious and more aware of doing. So, but yeah, I can talk to her about my deepest thoughts and everything now, because now I'm emotionally available.
So
Well,
even to
now-
Kitty's point, no, you got it.
Now, when you have conversations with your wife, do you still feel a level of shame when you communicate with her, or do you feel like you can voice yourself freely and clearly and not feel judgment from the person that you chose to be yours?
I can, talk to her without feeling judged, and freely. Talk to her with confidence, and she won't judge me, because the thing about it was, when I was going through this, because I was hiding it, my wife thought it was her. She thought she was the problem, but I couldn't find a way to tell her that I had this addiction. you know so now, when we look back at it, it's like, wow. When God allows you to look back over your life to see where he brought you from, it's like, man, I was gone. Could you imagine? And I'll let you. You imagine going to church and you seeing everybody else blessed. So everybody praising the Lord, everybody getting their breakthrough, but you're sitting there and you're constantly tortured. I got the suit and tie on, I got the Stacey Adams on, I'm looking the part, but in my mind, it's like,
Yeah.
knowing that I shouldn't even be there, knowing I should probably just go home, but knowing that if I go back into the world, the enemy will destroy me.
Mhm.
So I was constantly having that battle. Each day I wake up, it was a constant tug of war.
Mhm.
I was never at peace.
Wow.
Even when consuming it, I still wasn't at peace.
You know, my mindset is a little bit different on certain things, but I'll just share my perspective with you.
Mhm.
I felt like the fact that you kept going to church is admirable, right? Because they say come as you are. They
Right.
say come as an addict, come in, if you didn't have Stacey Adams, if you had holes in your socks, if that's who you were,
Right.
be present, right?
Right,
Because
right.
that's where you can get the work done.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you showed up to work every day. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, you know, that's just how I feel about it. You know what I mean? You have
Yeah.
your own thoughts and your own process, but I commend you for continuing to show up. Even when you didn't feel it in your mind and in your spirit, you continue to be present. And I think it's important to be present and to
Yeah.
push into difficulty. So the fact that you were feeling, you know, shame, or you're feeling like you're not as good as, or however it was that you were feeling, you
Yeah.
continue to show up. And I feel like if that's where your foundation was and that's where you wanted to be, you did an honorable thing by continuing to show up.
Thank you. That was actually my source of strength. You know, continuing to go to church, continuing to serve my pastor and serve the church. That helped me to, kind of stay afloat. And I thank God for my pastor too, because my pastor he knew of my addiction, and my pastor he wasn't the type to strike me with the Bible, because one thing people don't realize is like when you sin, you know that you're sinning.
Yeah.
You don't need nobody
It's the
to
simplest
remind
thing
you.
I've ever heard, but
You don't need
that's great. I want to write that down.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know when you're sinning because you make that choice to do it. Nobody forces you to do anything, especially if you're an adult. Nobody forces you. When you want to sin, you're going to sin. And I thank God for my pastor, because like he will always encourage me, but I was so far gone that the information that he was giving me was just flying over my head. It would just go in one ear and then out the other. And I thank God for him, being patient with me. Um, some leaders, I'm gonna just say it like this: some leaders are really not in tune with God. They go back to the old way of doing things. They think by yelling at you, or Bible scriptures are good, but it's in a way that it's all in your delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you're a leader, you're not supposed to be doing this and doing that. The Bible says, like, listen, I know that already. How can I just want to be able to speak to you and for you to be able to listen. That's what porn addicts are really looking for. They're not gonna they want help, but they're not gonna expose themselves. And if they talk to you, that means they look up to you. Because this right here, like I told you, when you're going through something like this, you don't want people to know. So if I'm letting you know, that means I trust you.
Right.
And you may be that person that God used to help me become better.
But you missed the opportunity when you kind of take the other approach. Is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
So like if a porn addict is crying out to you, like I'm telling you about my life, I'm trusting in you. But if I lose that confidence in you, you won't hear from me again.
Sure. So let me, and so I want to say, just because what you're saying is so familiar to me in terms, see my personal
Mhm.
journey. It's it kind of makes me feel, even feel differently hearing somebody else say the same, like the same. So I was not going through the exact same thing that you were going through, but
Mhm.
I think something that people don't recognize sometimes, like just like when you were saying that you were in the church and you're seeing other people praising and you're seeing other people, and we think that that's when we're at our low point, is that when we're in the church and we see everybody praising God and they're shouting or they're lifting their hands and all of that stuff.
Right.
And
Mhm.
we think that that is our lowest because we're just sitting there and everything is sort of feeling like it's passing us by, or like we're numb to what's going, like, why can't I feel the spirit? Why can't I feel, what I'm saying? Like, but when you're in that place, you're sort of you're it's like, you're recognizing where you are. Like the fact that you can be there and see that and see, you know what I mean? Because
Like
the
to me,
reality,
at that moment, it sounds like the guilt.
yeah. Because the
Like
reality
in
is,
the sanctuary. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that's where the guilt comes in of what's done in the dark comes to the light.
yeah,
Just by your feelings of it, like feeling removed.
Because
Because there's the lukewarm thing and all that. You know what I mean?
100% of the people that are there doing that are not like some of those people are shouting over being, you know what I'm saying, like intoxication. Some people are there and they're shouting, you know, like there's people that touch kids that be in church shouting on Sunday morning. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we're doing all kinds of stuff. So it's like when you find yourself in that place where you're sort of, you know, it's a place of conviction because it's like you just watching everybody and like, man, I wish I could get to that, but you don't know what other people are going through. And there's one, you know, like one thing I had to learn to see, you know, like I don't want to trade places with nobody else because you don't know what, you know, like just because somebody seems like they're at a certain place, especially there, and you know what I'm saying, like in that building,
everybody carries their load differently.
Yeah. Oh. So, so I have to do it.
I tried to be
Good night, everybody.
That's the end. I'm gonna call everyone down.
You gotta get the sound effects.
Right.
But yeah, really, honestly, even you know what I'm saying, like to be there and to still, you know, like you're still doing your stuff, you're feeling like, you know, like you're feeling guilty because you're working in your capacity. So it's like I have these things going on in my personal life, but I'm still, you know what I mean, like I'm still with my you know, with my pastor in church, like, you know, it's like I'm sitting in the pulpit and all of these truths that should be hitting me seem to be going over my head because I know that when I leave here, what I'm getting ready to be doing, it doesn't have nothing to do with anything that I can tell anybody in these walls because it's terrible.
Yeah.
So, like, right, but you know what I mean, like, but to be able to sort of, you know, to be able to come out of that is a, you know what I'm saying, like, is a big thing because a lot of times, you know, what people fail to understand, is that there's no perfect Christian. There's nobody perfect in church. Like you're not what you're, you know, like what you're seeing is, you know what I mean? Like it's like that Transformers joint. There's just more than meets the eye. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many church. If you would consider it a hospital, there's nobody that goes there because they're 100% well. If everybody was doing everything that they were supposed to all the time, there would have been no reason for Jesus to have died. Because you know what I'm saying? Like, because
died for our
so
sins.
it's like, but those are the people that are supposed to be coming in.
Yes.
And so, you know what I mean? Like, so,
Exactly.
of course, like we deal with like guilt and shame and stuff, but when reality is some of the things that we get into, you know what I mean? Like if we were able to have conversations about, we probably would. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, and I'm not here to, you got to own your stuff. You have to take accountability for the things that you do. But I'm saying, like, you know, the time that we grew up in was not a time of sharing and having discussion. You know what I'm saying? Like you learn how to be a man. Like you know, you watch your dad and you don't cry a lot, and you know what I'm saying? Like it's mad gruff. Like you just, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't, like we joke about all the time, like, listen, like you don't cry, but you just you hold it all in, you push it down until you die at 45 of like, you know what I'm saying, because you couldn't, you hug a child, and you know, like, you know what I'm saying, like you know, you watched The Land Before Time, and you were straight faced. I think if that's the case, you are a zombie, because if you watched The Land Before Time and you didn't cry the first time that you saw it, you are dead inside. Okay. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't even my dad's sensitive era, and I feel like I saw like just like a tear wet like right here. It didn't come down, but it was there, and it made me feel like, you know,
a little human.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
So, but so how do you come out of that? What is the day that you're like, yo, you know, I'm addicted to this, I know that, but now I have to go and take these steps to be able to come out of that.
Before you go, because that's more like present, future, and like.
Go.
Can I did have like a backstory question that kind of went off.
Okay,
Just before we get to more of the, like you said, 28 years. So I wanted to know, when are you counting this 28? Does that start at the does that start at when does that start? What age are you when this 28 starts?
Um, it's a good question. It may have been less than, but I felt like it was 28 years.
And the reason I say
Yeah.
that is because when you're we use the alcoholism
Mhm.
thing. When
Mhm.
you're a casual drinker, you're
Mhm.
not. I wouldn't count that personally as the time when you are having an alcohol problem.
Gotcha. Makes
So
sense. Yeah.
in my head,
Mhm.
like I'm not. I'm like, are you counting 28 from the 8 when you were wrestling, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden now it's this thing? Because
Mhm.
I'm like, that's kind of like curiosity,
Mhm.
intrigue. Like, I feel like there's so many steps
Right.
that brew, and then just like most people that wouldn't even consider themselves addicted,
Mhm.
there's the times when you're like not physically acting.
Right.
Because you
Right.
said there was like once you lost your virginity, you
Mhm.
were active enough to not even think about it.
Right. Right.
I'm just like trying
Yeah.
to see where the like what years you're counting as the
Right.
years of
I'm
actual
thinking,
addiction.
I'm thinking of the actual addiction and then the actual sexual encounters
Okay.
from it transforming to porn addiction to sex addiction.
Okay. So
So
those are coupled when
yeah,
you're talking.
so
Okay.
coupled, yeah,
Gotcha.
So I just want to follow up off of that.
right.
When did you like reconcile for yourself that you were an addict?
2017.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
2017 is when I reconciled.
Like I have a problem. Like prior to that, you were like, this is just something that I do. But at that point, you're like, I need to work on this. I need to improve in some way
Right,
to try and
yeah,
get over
yeah.
this.
Because like prior to that, I was always just pushing it down because
Okay.
I didn't want anybody to know.
Got you.
Did you and your wife have to separate and reconnect, or were you able to fix it together?
Um, no, we didn't separate. It was well, I might as well get into it. So 2017, like I said, I'll say it, you probably hear it a couple more times, and it was a tough. My wife, she was done. Like she was done. Like there were times where she'll sit in the living room, and her mind is like elsewhere. Like I would talk to her, and she just it was bad. It was like at that moment we became like more roommates than anything.
Gotcha.
She would leave for work. She would kiss me on the forehead. Um, I would say I love you, and she would say I know. It was hard.
So it
It
just
was
sounds like a lot of routine.
yeah. It was
Like
hard. Like
I
she
think
was she was
we've
done.
all been there
Yeah.
at some point in
Yeah.
some relationship in the past where you
Hmm.
just kind of
Hmm.
those are going through the motions things. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to say I love you. You're
Yeah.
supposed to
Yeah. Yeah.
salute with some
But
sort of
but
hug kiss type thing.
it hurts.
The
Like
forehead kiss for me
Right.
is like, wow.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like one
Tell
of
me
the, I'm
about
like
it.
one of the kids, bro. Like
Bro,
the
listen,
kids will be
I
on
do
the
that to my
forehead.
sons. I do that to my sons before I go to work.
That was my thought. I
So,
was like,
you know,
the forehead kiss kind of got me out of the
yeah. When
Like
she
you want
did
to
that,
throw
I
the
was
shoulder
like,
punch.
no shoulder punch though.
Have a great day, buddy.
Okay,
You
babe.
good, okay?
That's wild.
But yeah, it took a little bit, man. I had to really go back and remember the things that my wife enjoy. And one of the things I remember is that my wife always liked to take pictures. And so what I did is I started sending her pictures of our sons when they were little, and pictures of us. I started writing letters to her, and slowly but surely, that started working on my wife because like I said, my wife she was mad, man. I'm telling you, man. Every day she would come in and she was just absent, and I'm just like, "Ah." And it was killing me because it's like, how can I how can I reconcile 11 years of emotional neglect with just a couple of months? How can I compete with that? By right, you know, by right, she should leave because I neglected her for that long. But what kept us together was, first of all, it was God, because God was really dealing with me at that time. And then, we have two boys. So it wasn't just us. We had to consider it was our boys as well, you know? And like I said, it was tough. It was literally about a year before I could win my wife's love and respect back.
But you did it.
I did.
During that year, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
During that year, did you recognize yourself in her neglect? And what I'm trying to say is
Mhm.
the feeling that she was giving you during that process.
Mhm.
Did you understand that that's what you had been doing to her for 11 years? So it's almost like she was mirroring your behavior.
Yeah.
Like if this is what I'm
Mhm.
getting, this is what I'm giving.
Yes.
Right? She was reciprocating what her experience was.
Mhm.
Did that kind of resonate with you at that time, or were you just like, "Yo, she doing me dirty"?
Oh, it did. It did. It gave me a reality check, and I was like, wow. But you do that times 11 years, man. I'm sure it was like 10 times worse for her.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know, um, yeah, it was.
So I really want to know because it was like, that's a long time to be, you know what I'm saying? And especially like, sometimes you like to stay with somebody because you got years in. And you know what I mean? Like y'all kind of coasting years, like, so you, over those 11 years, sometimes you think back like, oh, remember year 7? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what happened during year
Yeah.
7? Was it
Yeah.
all a bad year? Like you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but like what, I mean, like your patience has to be on another level. So you know what I'm saying? Like, so what, like, were you guys in therapy? What, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what were you, like, what were the steps that you were taking? I
Mhm.
know you know what I'm saying? Like you started sending her the pictures, but I mean,
Mhm.
but it has to come about eventually in conversation, and it's
Right.
more than one. You know what I'm saying? Like to be able to figure out what it is that you guys are gonna do. Like, but like,
Mhm.
how were you able to begin that? Was it with therapy, or did you have somebody? Was it your pastor that you know what I mean, like
Mhm.
that you got to help you, or what is it that you did to start the conversations?
Um, I guess it was letter writing. It was pictures. It was also me praying. I did a lot of praying on that time. I would refer to when Joshua and them were marching around the wall of AI.
Mm-hmm.
And each day, what I would do is I would pray for different things. Like one day, I would walk around my yard 7 times, and I would pray for my mind. The next day, I would pray for my heart. The next day, I would pray for my situation, and then the next day, I would pray for my wife. I would pray for her. Next day, her mind, her heart, and the prayer, it helped me to endure because um, it wasn't an easy situation. And I had to, you know as mad as my wife was, sometimes, they do and they say things to get you upset. And, I couldn't blame her. I've neglected her for 11 years, but that was my strength to be like, okay, I can take it. Even though I can't see it now, I know that I said, God, I'm leaving this in your hands. I can't see it. And, this is hurting me. It's not easy for me to say I love you to my wife and her not say it back. I hurt each time I would say it and she don't say it back. That really hurt me,
Hmm.
you know. And but the praying, it helped me to stay. It helped me to continue to go on, continue to fight for our marriage because really I was the only one fighting because she wanted to leave.
So like, what, like at what point though, like,
Mhm.
oh, all right, so
Mhm.
because this is clearly, you know what I'm saying, like, I think that's pretty dope that you're able to take accountability for, you
Yeah,
know what I'm saying, like
of course.
your role in relationship. But
Mhm.
so, before we started, we were talking about something that KJ was talking about off camera, and I was saying, like, um but it's when you have an issue in a relationship, like you know what I mean, like that, whether it be infidelity or what, like whatever it is,
Mhm.
that both people have to make up in their mind that they're gonna make it, that they're gonna make it work. And so, you know what I'm saying, like how, you know what I mean, like how was what was her process? Because it's like, like you're doing the praying, you're doing the letter writing, you're doing the picture taking, you're doing, like, so in that, and it gets to a point where then she at some point, comes back and she begins to do things,
Mhm.
because you can't reconcile by yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
That's true.
what was her process? What are some of the things that um that maybe she felt like this will help in our relationship for me to do
Mhm.
moving forward? What are some of the things that she did? I'm asking because,
Mhm.
I don't know what side of the coin anybody is who's listening, but
Right,
you know what
right.
I'm saying? Like, but
Yeah.
for those people who might not, who might be in that victim spot, what, you know what I mean? Like, what are some of the things um, that maybe she did to kind of that softened her heart to, what I'm saying, like in terms of y'all relationship?
Um, well, during that time, God was working on her as well, and I remember we two had this conversation a while back, and she said that God said that your husband is your best for you. I put him into your life.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and not only that, she thought about our sons because when she was on the point of leaving, she said this to me. She said, I what kept me was our sons as well. So we both what kept us both together was because I still love my wife, but it's just the fact that our sons, like, I didn't want them to go through. I didn't want the divorce to affect them because believe it or not, divorce, it affects the children, and I didn't want them to go through that. My mother and father, they were never married. I was born out of wedlock. The oldest of five, and it's funny because like my mother and my father, they married other people. So that was kind of funny to me, when I think about it. Like,
Hold on, they have 5 kids together?
no, I'm the oldest of five.
Oh, I was about to say,
Yeah,
like, they,
no,
I was like, yo, that would be crazy if
no,
they had 5 together and they married other people.
no.
You got
No. Yeah, I'm the oldest of five. So, but yeah, it's we're in a better place now, and I thank God for it.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think.
bro, you in a better place,
Mhm.
especially when you able to talk about what's going on with you,
Mhm.
and you know what I'm saying, like, and not feel like you're being judged. I would, what I mean, like, I would say that is progress. You know what I mean, like, I really am interested
Mhm.
in like the way to be able to get, because it sounds like from what you're saying, bro,
Mhm.
like you have the patience of Job. Because, you know what I'm saying? And this, the reason I say that is because, it's it it's tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Mhm.
tough when you kind of like basically, you know what I mean, like stand in front of the firing squad every day. Somebody saying, like you saying I love you all the time and not getting that back. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you talking about like a whole year before y'all was able to like start progressing. But you know what I mean? And of course, you did as you, because you started going through, because you started going through your process. But it's like,
Mhm.
what, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to, think like personally, like, what happens when you 3 months in? Well, you know what I'm saying, when you 6 months in and you still can't get that I love you. What happens when you
I'm telling
when
you.
you 7, 8 months in, when you 9 months in,
Right.
and you're not able to get, you know what I'm saying, like what it is, you know what I mean? Like, none of what it is that you're looking for. And that's not to say that, you know, they might feel that you deserve that. That,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, that
Yeah.
that can be true. And for a lot of reasons like that, people don't stay together.
Right.
And I, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that you guys, like, one of your things was that you wanted for your boys to grow up in a two-parent home. But the reality is there's a lot of people that stay together until their kids graduate. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that they can,
Yeah, that's
because they
true.
feel like
That's
they're
true.
well-rounded
Right.
once
Right.
they're able to be adults, and now they're out the house, and it'll affect them. But it won't affect them the same. That's the thought process of a lot of parents. And so
That's
like,
true.
you know,
That's true.
and so like, how did y'all get the love back though? That, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, because we're talking, it's 2023.
Right.
Y'all got, you know what I mean? Like this happened in 2017. Like you go through all of that, you know what I'm saying? Like 2018 into 2019 before you're able to get to like a better place. So like what, you know what I mean? Like I'm just curious about like what your mindset is going through all of these. Bro.
I mean, it's not to it's not to really trying to ask but not get into like your personal business too much.
Yeah.
Right.
But I guess like a little deeper, not deeper, but I understand the answer of it being like you guys prayed and obviously like God can do anything.
Right.
But I guess it's more the question kind of comes down to like what does it look like? You know what I mean? Because I'll say from a personal standpoint, I've been in a situation where I was trying to rectify a wrong that I did and continuing to try to do so.
Right.
And if you would have asked me when I set myself on the journey of rectifying said wrong, I would have thought that, yeah, like, you did this, so you deserve this treatment. And I was going to take my humble pie all the way until I personally met my wits end and decided not to wait.
Okay.
Or see if there was something to wait for.
Right.
As opposed to you having the wherewithal to say you were able to wait. So I guess when we're saying what does it look like, how did it look at that year when the letters that you wrote the whole year, the pictures you took the whole year, when you started to see a chink in the armor? Like, you know what I mean? Like, when did you start to, like,
see her come back?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I don't think it was like all of a sudden you one day like we all in lingerie and I'm breaking out the silk boxers, like, you know what I mean? Like I know it wasn't like that, so I think I always say that because it's just funny because there's no like I joke with my lady all the time, like there's no guy version of I'm gonna slip into something more comfortable, like, you know what I mean? Like I got these ball shorts, like happy Valentine's.
I think that's a really valid question. But
I mean, like, I just wanted to see how it played out as far as like, did you guys start? Okay, now we can all have family game night, or you know what I mean? Like now we can do this, or now we can go here. Like, how did it start shifting?
So it started shifting. I'm gonna say like 6 months into the year after, she was fed up. I started doing what I was supposed to do as a husband. I would buy her flowers. We would go out on dates and stuff like that. And slowly, I watched her come around. I just kept doing that. And then, letters. Like, what I was doing during that time, too, is I was also researching. Because I was researching different things. Because, this, like I said, I'd never been in a situation like this where somebody wanted to leave me like this. And this is my wife. This is not a girlfriend. This is my wife. So that's completely different. And so I'm researching, like, what should I do? How can I win her heart back? And, I'm applying it. So it was one day I was researching, and it was something that like really made my heart drop. But I was like, you know what? I'm the type of person where if I put my mind to something, I'm going to keep at it till I get it. Once my mind is set on something, no one can stop me from getting what I'm going after. And so one day I was researching, it was write a letter giving your disappointed spouse a choice to stay or leave. Yeah. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh. I said, I've been fighting all this time. I said, I don't know. I don't really want to do that. Because what if she be like, okay, I'm done by just that letter. But, I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And it hurt. Like I was writing that letter and like my heart was breaking with like each word because I knew that this could be it. And I'm writing it and I'm like, and I fold it up and because what I would do is I would put it under her pillow. So I will leave it under her pillow, and when she goes to bed, as soon as her hand slides, she'll feel it and everything. And I remember she read it, and she called me crying, and she said, "Thank you." And I was like, "Thank you." She was like, "Thank you for allowing me to choose. I know you were fighting for us, but thank you for allowing me to choose." And I was still scared because I'm like, she didn't say yes or no. And when she came home, I noticed that there was a difference. We started talking more. Um, we started, connecting more on a better level. And then, I remember when I knew that I have a song that said I watched the light return to my wife's eyes. We was over the lies of the enemy. So when I asked, "Will you be mine?" your kiss was the best reply. So it was a day that I went for work. I
Bars.
went to work. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I got some. And anyways, it was one day that I went to work, and I went to, go for a kiss, and she gave me like the most passionate kiss. And like that literally like caused me to be weak in the knees
Hmm.
because this was something that I was longing for a long time. And when she kissed me, oh my gosh, it was
She
like,
was too, though.
yeah,
That's what, you know what I mean. Like it was
yeah,
all that pent up. Like you know what I
that's,
mean. Like she
yeah,
been trying to be
Yeah.
tough. You know
right.
what I mean. Like
Exactly. That's when I knew that I had, that God had saw favor on reconciling our marriage. And I tell you to this day, I'm still grateful
that's real.
that God, allowed us to be reconciled. You know, it's the words, no words can describe how God did it. It was all God. It was, I put in work, but it was all God just orchestrating it, just working through us. I would dare not take the credit from God. You know, I will not take the credit from God because He the one that did it. You know, to be able to reconcile a marriage in a year versus 11 years,
Mm.
that's only but God.
Mhm.
Only
Yeah.
but God, man.
Yeah, man. We talk about this on the
Mhm.
cast quite a bit,
Mhm.
and I tell the fellas this all the time, man. Sometimes respect is more important than love. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I think your wife felt respected
Mhm.
when you gave her the choice. Because what
Yeah, that's
what
real.
better gift can you give someone than the choice to make their own decision?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And knowing that you're fighting, knowing that you want it for yourself, you want it for her, and you want it for the children, but ultimately you gave her the choice to make the decision for herself without guilt.
Yeah.
And that shows a lot of respect.
Yeah, because
And I think that
it
would
would have
be
been really easy to just like be like, "Yo, so you really gonna do this to our kids?" and like weaponize like all the responsibilities that you
Right.
have as a unit
Right. Right.
against her
Mhm.
to like
Nah.
turn. I mean, to shift
Yeah.
focus from
Yeah.
what created said issue and to be like, "Yo, we need to be focusing on the future." Because like, do you think our kids need to be like, okay, that's like because when you said something about not wanting your kids to be raised without
Mhm.
without both of you in the household,
Right.
it's like sometimes it's not the healthiest to be raised with both of you in the household. You know what I mean? You know,
Okay,
like
yeah.
all
Good point.
relationships are not created equal, and like you
Mhm.
know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
some relationships it's best to be apart.
Right.
I think
But with you having that, like you know what I mean, like you could have easily been one of those guys that
Yeah.
just basically
Nah.
was like like you can't keep acting like this in front of our kids. Like, what are they gonna think? Like,
for everybody that's listening, this is Digital Boombox Network, and we are the Logic Based Collective talking to our man Gary Shepard, explaining how he won back his wife's affections, and this is the aftermath of his porn addiction. And so, what you missed so far, you probably have to go back and check the stream after this is done. But he was just explaining to us how he brought his own wife into her soft era. And so, like his own, like, and so, it's I mean, but it's really dope to be able to. I hope that you that you write this out. It'll be a pretty dope read. But he has a podcast. He has a podcast as well. You can tell him. How can we be able to listen to? What's the name of it, and how can we find you?
Okay. So my podcast name is Triple X Life No More. As you can see, I'm wearing the shirt for it. I don't got merch out yet, but I'm merchandising or whatever you call it. So you can follow my podcast on Instagram. It's Triple X Life No More. I'm also on Twitter, Triple X Life No More, and I'm on Spotify, and I'm also on Anchor. So once you see the yellow logo, you're in the right place. Triple X Life No More.
It's Triple X like the movie,
Yep.
XXX Life No More.
Yep.
Yeah, yo, that's pretty dope to be able to come into that place. It should have been, you know what I mean, like, well, which would have been the end of y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, I've had a very different experience in that area, but you know what I'm saying? Like, but you can
Right,
see,
man.
yo, but to be able to know that it's possible, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's pretty dope because what you're saying is that, yo, you people talk about like the way that men lead and who they should be led by, and how do I know that I should allow you to lead me? And Gary is saying basically that, you know what I'm saying, like his relationship was not over. It was at a place where it could have been over. He gave her the choice, but he also led with his actions first to say, you know what I'm saying, like this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm fighting. It's not, you know what I mean, like along with conversation, you know what I mean, he's doing the actions, whether it's buying flowers, whether is you know what I'm saying, like with the pictures, like all of the things that he's saying that he did, and he's saying, like, like, so he basically led his wife back into the relationship where she, you know what I mean, like, because having a hard heart against somebody is you know what I'm saying, like, if you've ever been there, it's not an easy thing. So
It's not.
I'm sure that, you know what I mean, like even to you, like how you felt because you were on the receiving end of the way she wasn't responding to you, but like for her that had to feel crazy as well.
Yeah.
To be like, yo, I hear I love you from this dude every day and I feel nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, to be able to come back from that is you know what I'm saying, is inspirational, because
It
you know what I mean, like,
because that's like I feel like that's like a fight for everyone. Like
Yeah.
every single day that
Yeah.
you do that. You know what I mean? Like you say I love you, and then she like declines it, and then she gets in the car and drives off, and she's not just receiving that well because she wants to say it back, but she doesn't want to make it seem like everything's all sweet. So she's gotta like,
That's true.
you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like everybody's struggling, and you're walking away like, you know what? I ain't gonna say it tomorrow. And then and then she's like, and then if you don't say it tomorrow, she like, then that's the new argument. Like, oh, so you're not even gonna say it? Like, yo, you haven't been saying it back. Like, it can go so many. Like it's like, yo, you just start being Spider-Man meme. Like you're pointing at each other. Like it's not like nobody's ever gonna be right. You know what I mean? Like, it's like everybody's just pointing at each other at that point.
Play KJ real quick.
Go ahead.
And so, like, even with that, because of the era that we live in, like, there's so many ways that you can get attention if that's what it is that you want. It's
Right.
like, she's rejecting it from him. He's going through that knowing that all of these things are possible. So it's like, yo, it's like people have like their work wives or their work husbands, you know what I'm saying, like, which you know what I mean, like, that might get somebody's neck broke. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, but yo, it's a thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know how many people reach out to somebody and how sometimes it just might be the right day. And it's like, yo, if it was any other day, I would have been able to decline. But now here we are going out for coffee. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like here we are going,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, now here we are. And now I'm
Yeah.
explaining all of the things that are wrong with my relationship. I'm basically giving another guy, and I'm saying, like, it could be a woman, but I'm saying, like, I'm giving another person the cheat code basically to my heart. Everything that this person worked for them to get, I've given you all of that to get into this spot. And now, you know what I mean? Like, and it just kind of
And it can
allows them
easily
to be able to
happen,
get in.
Oh yeah.
And
Easily.
so, and so to know that, and to you know what I mean, like, and to still be like, yo, bro, I'm saying, like, yo, I just know me. I would need some encouragement.
That's why you have to wonder what exact type of prayers? Like you said, you were just like praying every day, walking around the house. It's like at what point do you get to like you're like, yo, we're so distant? Like that's like I'm probably thinking like if I put myself in your shoes and like the only person I'm like seeking refuge in is God in my prayers, like I'm probably gonna be like, yeah, I just pray shoot Vince to the right person. Like, cause
well, that's basically what he did though. With
you
that
know what I
letter.
mean? Because it's like
Or
you
you don't vent at all.
like
It's the wrong
well,
person.
the thing is, you don't even want it to be pent up. So it's like
Right.
when I say that, I'm not talking about necessarily like finding some work husband or some nonsense. I'm just saying like it could be so many things. Like she could talk to that one girlfriend that's mad, bitter, and hates men in general. That's never gonna help you, as opposed to talking to the other girlfriend that has like a little bit of reasonability to be like, yo, like he's trying, like just see your efforts. That like, cause like this is the person she's trusting with y'all dark time, and it's like, yo, you want somebody in the foxhole with you that she's going to, that's more or less being like, yo, you got to see that that's effort. He could just be like, hey, let's call it.
Right, that's true.
That's what I don't know. I'd probably be like hoping that worked out.
Yeah, in that situation, people would be taking like all types of bad advice from.
I mean,
other
but people be projecting, like you know what I mean.
No,
like you go to the wrong
no history
person.
of ever being in a successful relationship, but you're taking their advice. Well, that's another conversation.
Yeah, I won't be taking that advice.
No, you're absolutely right, man. I mean, but it's like so when you're praying, like you have to be. Like your belief level has to be like on 1,000. You know what I'm saying? Like, but what I will say is this is why people wear like trust God on t-shirts and they post memes and stuff online, but it's really not as simple as it sounds. We make it sound when we make it seem like it's simple, even if you know what I mean, like you go to church and you read, you hear the scriptures and you're like, yeah, so just do this and hey, don't lean not on your own understanding. Nigga, how am I supposed to? This is how I survive. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you not lean on your understanding of the world? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been doing this for 41 years, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the things that I understand are the things that make me comfortable. So how am I to navigate through life without anxiety if I'm not leaning on my understanding? Well, you have to learn to trust God. So we find out that trust is a process. But I'm saying to get to where you like, yo, God, if you can't do it, it can't be done. And so I'm gonna do this, and it's not even for a predetermined amount of time. Right. And people be like, God's timing is not our timing. It'd be like that. It'd be true. And it seemed like God just be kicking rocks. He stopped at the store. He took Jesus to McDonald's real quick. Right. Went
on vacation, boat ride, everything.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. And I even think about that until I seen like when Bruce Almighty came to the theaters, and he was just opening the emails from people on his street, and it was I'm like, bro, like this is. I mean, so it's you want to think that God is like that. This is important enough for God to answer my prayers, but it takes some real patience. By the
theory of omnipresence, like you're like, yo, he's in you and everywhere all the time. Like he can always focus on just me. Like there's 8 billion of us out here. Like I'm pretty sure he might have you on call waiting every now and then. Like he might have the D&D your problem. Like people got other things they going through. Like I don't get that.
Put it in the archives and pull it up.
Like there should be like a wait mixed in that. Like it says watch and pray. It should be like watch, wait.
Every time you go to pray, you hear the call waiting music. Like
just a little bit of elevator
be on do not disturb.
You know what I'm saying?
Jesus.
I'm just saying, like, be realistic, man. Give God a shot. Like he's got a lot going on.
I think that he can, but like a lot of times it's because we want the things that we want when we want them. And it's like, it seems like, yo, if it doesn't work out this way, then it's not going to happen. But the reality is that, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he's the one that set everything into motion, there had to be a better, it had to be because of a way that I can't see. I'm not going to think of, you know what I mean? Like, yo, if it were my choice, I wouldn't go through some of the things that I've gone through. Because, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but having gone through that stuff causes me to be knowledgeable about some things. Like, I would have rather have been like, well, I can tell you the difference between right and wrong. But now there's probably some people that I can have a conversation with because I've been through stuff. and they're gonna listen to me before they listen to somebody else. And that was part of his plan. And I didn't want to go through it. But
That's
since
it.
I did, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
Right.
and that's why, you know, saying like it's his plan and not, you know, and not ours. But I'm saying like, to be able to get through that entire time and standing on what you were believing is amazing, because you know what I'm saying? Like, truth be told, bro, he's like some of us we pray for something for like a week and give up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just
100%.
like, all right, well,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna keep it moving, but that's literally not how God works.
Yo, what God has for me is for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like he knew that 2 years wasn't the plan for you.
Right.
Like he tailored it like, yo, you're gonna learn your lesson in a year and she'll be okay. And then we'll start this road. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that chink in the armor came right on time. Because if it
It
would have
did.
been 18 months, you might have crapped out like some of us. But you know what I mean? I was like, yo, not gonna be able to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like he knew, like
I
you know,
tried.
he knew the appropriate time for you to learn and for her to be able, for her to feel like, you know, you actually learned the lesson as well.
Yeah.
So do you guys do any podcasting together?
No, it's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just sharing like my experiences and like research and stuff like that. You know, because I still do a lot of research, and you know, because it helps me stay afloat,
Right.
because you know I've been sober for 6 years, but I'm not Superman.
Right.
You know, I'm still human. You know, I'm still bound to fall. You know, but what keeps me fighting, what keeps me sober, is that you know I don't want to go back to that place that I was at, and I don't want to disappoint my wife again. You know, because it took a lot. It took a lot to get where we're at now for me to, you know, fall back into it. And not only that, you know, from research that I've learned so much about porn, how, you know, how it's a contributor to sex trafficking, how it's tied to sex trafficking. And it's like, wow. People don't realize that when you consume it, you become an unofficial sex trafficking partner.
A what now?
An unofficial sex trafficking partner.
Explain.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is that porn stars, they're rated just like movies. So the more you watch a certain porn star, the more it increases the demand and the more of a struggle, torture they go through. Because okay, you're my top seller, so I got to keep pushing videos out for you because you're my top seller. People don't realize that. So that's another reason why I fight extra hard, because I have a better understanding of what I was consuming. Because back then I didn't know what I was contributing to. All I know is that it's something that I wanted to watch and it was free. I didn't know the repercussions behind it. I didn't know that it was a torture for someone else. So that's why I came up with my podcast to fight against it, because I don't want people to go through what I went through, and I don't want people to continue to be contributors to something that they're not aware of.
So I had this friend.
Mhm.
Um, God bless him. He's passed away, but he was not necessarily like in you know, like having to do with porn. Like, it wasn't like that wasn't a thing. But I remember like going to the movies with this dude, and every time like something provocative came on the screen, he would close his eyes. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I was like, you know what I mean? Like, until we caught on, because I think we might have went to see something like Scary Movie or something like that. I can't remember what it was, um, but you know what I mean? Like, I was like sort of caught on, but you know what I'm saying? He was saying how, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't, it's like, he's like, yo, because like I'm not doing these activities. And so like I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't see it, it kind of helps, you know, like it kind of helps because I don't
Yeah.
like my mind doesn't have anything to go back to you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like to
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, and so now I mean like just saying how like now, because you're saying like you're 6 years in recovery, which is amazing.
Thank you.
you know,
Thank you.
it's still, you know, like it's still something. I'm not gonna lie though, like you know what I'm saying, like it just, I'm a grown man. Like sometimes you want to see titties, like you know what I mean, like you want to, like I mean, or you just want to,
Keep it real.
you know what I mean, like you do, like you just
I'm
want
a
to see,
grown man.
like
Sometimes you want to see titties. It's
like
crazy.
that's,
He's
I mean,
not
that is, I mean, like that's the reality. Of course, like we're not doing everything that, you know, like everything that our desires, our impulses, but you know what I'm saying, like so
Yeah.
it would be fake to be, you know, to be like, well, you know what I'm saying, like I'm not, I'll never see it, or like I'll never watch it. I don't, you know, like I don't,
Yeah,
this is
of
not
course.
something that I desire to do.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying, like sometimes like, what comes on the screen, I don't look away. So you know what I'm saying.
Of course,
But
yeah.
it's, I mean, but
nature.
it's good to be able to be informed
Mhm.
about what you're saying, is why, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
again, tell them about your podcast before we sign off, because you know what I mean, like because there's a lot of interesting information for those who have not yet tuned in, or just tuned in rather. He's talked about the science, he's talked about other things that we had no idea about. I would never have associated sex trafficking with pornography,
I have
because
a nuanced question.
Mhm.
In regards to what you just asked
Yeah.
about, you know, going to the movies with your friends, if there was a
Yeah.
if there was a scene of sexual nature, like how he would turn away. Now, would you consider that pornography if there's like rated R movies and they have like, you know, scenes that are like
Mhm.
Mm.
not really intimate but like seemingly,
I know what you mean.
yeah, okay.
That would probably be what they call soft porn.
Um,
Yeah.
Even if it's like, okay, so even if it's like, say like a romantic comedy or whatever, and then they start kissing and
Yeah.
then like that's soft porn.
Yeah.
So you'd have to like shut the movie down.
No, that unfortunately when I seen it in the movies, it didn't move me like actual porn.
Gotcha.
So it
That's
wasn't
what I'm
really as
saying.
effective as, you know, the actual, because the actual would show everything.
Yeah, right.
You know, I won't get into
No,
detail,
I got you.
but you know, it's different. It's like way different.
So it's more your response to it that's the thing
Yes.
than the thing.
Yeah. You got to remember that there's different triggers for different people.
Right.
So they may,
Exactly.
you know, that may not trigger me, but the next man that's addicted to it, it may trigger him.
Right.
You know, so everybody is different, but for me, the movies didn't really move me like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and just sort of erring on the side of caution, like be like, yo, you know what, like I don't even want to, because yo, there's like, I'm not gonna. I used to roll. I rolled a couple of times with the homies to the bar, like to just get ginger ale. It just doesn't really work out for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? like, so I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make. I'll catch y'all next go around. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I can't. I don't want to be in that situation. You know.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, like the worst is to shun the very appearance of evil. Because
Right.
you know, it's like, even if I'm not doing something, it's like somebody come in and be like,
Exactly.
I seen you at the bar.
Wait a minute, there's Elder Baby.
What's going on? Like,
No, right? Elder Baby's at the bar, because you know somebody's gonna see you.
Right.
Somebody's gonna see you. They're like, "What you doing at the bar?"
Same thing as you.
Right.
That's like
No
a
shame.
wild thing because you kept making like the drawing the comparison between alcoholism and pornography. It's like the pornography equivalent of like just having the DVD case, but not having like, no, the movie's not
Right.
really in here.
Right. Just in case.
It just makes me feel like I'm one of the guys. Like,
Right.
you know, we all
Give me
was
a milk in a dirty glass.
we all was at the store, so I just grabbed the empty DVD. I didn't want to be left out.
Right.
It says Michelob, but it's apple juice.
So before we go, I was just interested in offer you the opportunity, if you want to share anything about people that might be watching that are struggling with a porn addiction, any advice that you can give them, any information that you can kind of lead them towards to help them with their issues, since this is kind of a passionate place for you.
Sure. So what I would say is that you're not alone. There are many people, many brothers and sisters that are going through this. You heard my story, and what you can do is, do your research. Research helps. It gives you a better understanding of what you're consuming and the effects that it take on you. I would say also find an accountability partner, because it takes an isolated moment to be addicted to porn, but it takes a team to overcome it. It takes a team to overcome it. And what I want to say to you is to don't give up. I know it may seem hard, and I know that it may seem helpless. You seem hopeless. You're in a dark place, but don't give up. Continue to give it to God. Continue to give it to God, because God, He sees and He knows, and He's going to give you your breakthrough. But you can't give up. It's a kingdom partnership. It is definitely a kingdom partnership. Don't give up. Um, like I said, keep it in God's hands and keep on pressing towards God. Don't listen to the lies that addiction will tell you, that you're hopeless, that you're worthless, that you know sharing your story. I know it may seem risky for some of you, but when you share your story, there's a sense of power behind it. There's a sense of accountability, because once you share your story, it's out there. You're no longer hiding. The invisible chains are no longer keeping you bound. So take it from me. Continue to fight hard. Continue to fight hard till you reach your freedom. And even when you reach your freedom, continue to fight hard. Don't get comfortable.
Speaking of you encouraging people to share their stories, do you take callers and stuff on your podcast?
Well, I will be. I just did like my first season, and I'm trying to like get things in order, like like a sign, a
Right.
light sign and everything. But
Gotcha.
once I start getting back into it, I would definitely do like
I mean, it's
interviews and
just
stuff like that.
it's so niche.
Yeah.
That I think, like, with you encouraging people to reach out and stuff, like, and you
Right.
having so much knowledge.
Right.
Plus, I mean, if you don't do the research yourself, I'm pretty sure he'd have lots of information on his podcast. So make sure you go seek that out.
Yes, I do. Yep.
But then, once that time comes, I think it'd be great for you to like take callers for people to feel safe and like anonymously be able to like seek some counsel from you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
That's dope, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a quick ad real quick. You're sitting on the couch, you're watching TV, and life is passing you by. You keep procrastinating and over, or maybe I'll subscribe tomorrow. Maybe I'll subscribe next week. No, do it now. You can do it after work. You can do it before work. You can do whatever you need to like, share, and subscribe. Go like, share, and subscribe right now. I'm here to help you. You spend all day on your phone anyhow. Why not subscribe? Press the subscribe button. That's going to help you in your future. All you got to do is pick up the phone, go to my YouTube channel, and like everything you see, and then share it. Why are you making this complicated? It's easy. You can find yes, definitely Everest College. But you can find me on Soft Spoken Private TV at YouTube and Logic Based Collective YouTube on the way. We will have some very interesting content for you guys. So definitely, it's pretty good subjects. We're talking about a lot of things openly and without shame.
Yeah.
I don't care what I say. So,
thanks for being so transparent with us, man. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
I know there's a lot of personal questions from three people just randomly thrown.
Yeah, it's all right. It keeps me accountable.
So this is Gary Shepard. Gary Shepard. I hope that you guys can see the logo on his shirt. That's fire. XXX No More. Triple X No More. You can go, and he said his podcast is on Anchor. It's on Spotify. It's on Instagram and
Twitter.
And on Twitter. All Triple X No More. You can find him at any of those mediums. And just so that you know, you have been listening to the Logic Based Collective. All hearts and minds are clear. Well, yo, until like, yo, hashtag that guy. Deacon White, get the plate, right? Yo, until the next time, we are the Logic Based Collective. Thanks. Special shout out to Gary Shepard, KJ, T White. I'm AJ. And until next time, allow Jesus to be the lotion that lathers your ashy soul. Peace.
Right.
Oh, I'm gonna wait until Siobhan says clear before we say anything provocative.
So about that point, no.